Well, friends, I welcome you all. Now I am going to share with you a very sensitive and burning topic, the life of female sex workers in Mekelle city of Tigray region, Ethiopia. And this presentation is based on 2 years action research project conducted by CHURA ABIGUDA Artistic Association of Mekelle. All over the world, the female sex workers are marginalized and stigmatized culturally. The other partners of this project are Women Association of Tigray Mekelle, Department of Anthropology, Institute of PALEO Environment and Heritage Conservation Mekelle, and the staff of CHURA ABIGUDA Artistic Association of Mekelle. Director of videography and this project is Otto Binam Nadio, who is also coordinator of African Youth for Peace and Sustainable Development. So I am going to present to you the social life of female sex workers of Mekelle city. This presentation is an outcome of collaborative intervention by CHURA ABIGUDA Artistic Association and Mekelle University under Community Service Program of the University. CHURA ABIGUDA Artistic Association has signed Memorandum of Understanding with Mekelle University to sponsor and support the professors and students of Mekelle University for mainstreaming community service. I have critically assessed, evaluated and synthesized the research project undertaken by CHURA ABIGUDA Artistic Association, and the presentation is based on my analysis. Ethiopia is a country in Horn of Africa with young population. The population of this country in age group below 20 years constitute 63%, and more than 30% of these young people are unemployed, and this is the reason why more and more unemployed young girls are joining sex trade day by day. Apart from that, Ethiopian laws does not prohibit commercial sex worker, for which unemployed young women turn female sex workers to have luxurious life and support their family. And Ethiopia has high prevalence rate in the world for HIV/AIDS, and among female sex workers, more than 25% are reported with HIV/AIDS as per United Nations AIDS 2014. Mekelle is a capital of Tigray National Region state. It is fastest growing industrial and urbanized city of Ethiopia. Mekelle is the 5th largest city of the country, and its industrialization has taken momentum since 1999. And this city is hub of female sex workers. It attracts thousands of unemployed youths from neighboring rural regions of the country. This city provides platform from booming growth of cement, textile, engineering factories, and accommodates different workers from different countries of the world. And many foreign investors from Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, China, they have attracted to this country to start agro business, construction business and export business. So they also create demand link for sex workers in this city. Tell you who are the sex workers in Mekelle city. The sex workers are young girls who pursue sex trade for money in drinking establishment. There are many nightclubs. They also sex workers are there. Then sex workers are also found on the street, and sex workers do their sex business on hotel base, in hotel base and their home. So apart from them, the call girls are there who attend clients at their home at high price. So far, there is no exact estimation of population of female sex workers in Mekelle city, because different NGOs and government agencies, they have made different studies, but so far accurate figure of their population is not known, because baseline survey conducted by government and non-government organizations varies. They give different pictures. And these population, female sex workers, are highly heterogeneous and a mobile group of women. Their population fluctuates day by day and added every month. So in the city, in the Mekelle city, the population of female sex workers is roughly estimated below 10,000, and these female sex workers are concentrated in 5 KBLs, KBL 2, KBL 12, KBL 14, KBL 15 and KBL 16. And these women are most vulnerable and marginalized, de-emphasized and high-risk female population in reproductive age bracket of the country. These women are carriers of sexual transmitted infections and HIV/AIDS because they have very low health-seeking behavior and they do not have access to friendly health services. These women need to be incorporated in gender balancing development policy of the country, and they are most oppressed and vulnerable women in the country. Not less than 70% of female sex workers are unemployed women from age group 15 to 24 years. So this group represents a very poor section of married women category. As many as 23.6% of female sex workers were married before they joined commercial sex work, and 74% of female sex workers are reported unmarried, because this estimate is based on the action research study conducted by CHURA ABIGUDA Artistic Association covering 526 female sex workers. And from this study, it is evident that 10% of female sex workers are hailed from agrarian family, whereas 70.8% of female sex workers are born in urban area. So it shows the urban girls are more prone to become female sex workers than rural girls. So their average income per day ranges from 500 bir to 1500 bir, and call girls are more expensive than hotel girls. So these vulnerable women are exposed to high risk of physical and sexual violence. in terms of unwanted pregnancy, sexual transmitted diseases, rape, forced sex. These women, they always have identity crisis. They always hide their self-identity as sex workers. They lose their fundamental human rights. They face cultural, social, legal, and linguistic obstacles because many female sex workers, they cannot understand local language, cannot communicate properly with their clients. And these women are exposed to violence on the street, on the job, and in their personal life. What are the violence? Because in absence of safety net from the society and by the police, these women are seriously exposed to violence. The study has indicated that 75.60% of female sex workers face violence. This is really a horrible situation. 56% of female sex workers are pressurized to have sex without condom, and they are forced to engage in uncommon modality of sexual intercourse, which is not acceptable to them. Not less than 45% of female sex workers report that client inflict physical harm on them. 60% of female sex workers experience unwanted genital touching. The study has further revealed that the 43.60% of female sex workers face violence by forceful sexual intercourse, and they experience trauma and psychological depression by such behavior of clients. 55.60% of female sex workers are harassed by involuntary sexual intercourse without condom. These facts are revealed and expressed by different sex workers to the head of this project, Otto Beniam Nadu, in the personal interview. We have not keeping it confidential and observing all ethical considerations for not revealing their names. World Health Organization has emphasized that gender-based violence is a global phenomenon which includes physical, psychological and sexual abuse. So, sexual violence varies across culture, across country, across religion, across social classes and ethnicity. The sexual violence among female sex workers of Mekelle city is very high, which are reflected in form of unintended pregnancy, self-induced abortion, gynecological problems, sexual dysfunction, and sexually transmitted infections, including HIV/AIDS. A significant section of female sex workers in Mekelle city have been exposed to different forms of gender-based violence. Their poor educational attainment, their early marriage, substance drug use, working as sex worker for short period, and insignificant monthly income, entertaining soldiers as clients stimulate multiple risk factors causing violence against female sex workers. The a section of female sex workers during the interview expressed that sex with soldiers is very painful and they torture them like anything. So, violence against female sex workers include brutal physical acts such as unpleasant touching, rape, sexual harassment, threats, and peeping, and videography during sex with clients. These are not expected and acceptable by female sex workers. Violence against women has become an international public health and human rights issue all over the world. Young girls are very often are forced to exchange sex for food, sanitary towels, clothes, and money to support themselves and ultimately enter into commercial sex profession. Forced sex is very common among female sex workers of Mekelle city. Not less than 43% of female sex workers reported forced sex by the clients. And they also are exposed to risk of infection and gynecological dysfunction due to vaginal trauma and laceration, as well as transmission of sexual transmitted infections due to this forced sex and rape. The brutal form of gender-based violence inflicting both physical and emotional problem is rape and forced sex. And this study has indicated that married female sex workers are more prone to experience sexual violence than unmarried ones. Their husbands are instrumental for exerting pressure on them to have forced sex. And the exclusion of women and girls from the public arena multiplies the vulnerable violence and reinforces gender-based discrimination in addition to enhancing the social subordination of women. Not less than 82% of female sex workers have past sexual intercourse within the age group 15 to 19 years. A large section of them are unmarried. More than 50% of female sex workers are addicted to smoking, use of alcohol, and chewing chat. They lack basic knowledge and information on safe sex practice, prevention of sexual transmitted infections, HIV, AIDS, and unwanted pregnancy. This is a very risk behavior, and there is an urgent need to sensitize them on these issues of reproductive health challenges. They use condom as a means of protection from pregnancy and other infectious disease, but a small section of female sex workers are reported using condoms. Unwanted pregnancy among female sex workers of Mekelle city is very frequent due to condom breakage and slippage, as reported by the female sex workers during their personal interview. Who are their clients? The clients, it is very interesting to know the clients of the female sex workers of Mekelle city. The female sex workers of Mekelle city draw clients from diverse groups. The majority of their clients are from merchant community. The merchants lavishly spend on sex. Even they prefer to spend 10,000 beer to have sex with virgin girl. They lavishly spend every night. They take good looking young sex workers. The second group is from industrial workers and civil servants who constitute 26% of all the clients, whereas merchants constitute 62% of all the clients. The third category of clients are drivers and soldiers. The soldiers are treated as most dangerous clients who inflict forced sex on sex workers. They force sex workers to have wild sex with them for hours together in the hotel. Violence episodes exposed to female sex workers of Mekelle city are numerous and complex. Violence against female sex workers is manifested in terms of gender inequality and discrimination against women in patriarchal social environment. The violence experienced by female sex workers of Mekelle city can be categorized into three types, such as physical violence, sexual violence, and emotional violence. A section of female sex workers report experiencing slapping, kicking, hair pulling, beating, threatening with weapon by clients which cause physical harm to them. Sexual violence caused to female sex workers by clients are never reported to police. A great section of female sex workers of Mekelle city experience forced group sex in a hotel entire night, undesired touching, oral and anal vaginal penetration with force that are a degrading and humiliating experience for them. Emotional violence is different. The female sex workers of Mekelle city are exposed to multiple emotional violence by clients and others, such as calling with derogatory names, insulting them in public, inducing fear through shouting, gestures, and threat of destruction of their property and possessions. No police action is initiated so far, as reported from the study. Their profession is stigmatized. They are reluctant to report these violence episodes inflicted on them with police. Police often refuse to register complaints of female sex workers, blaming them blackmailing innocent clients. The other socioeconomic factors also contribute towards multiplication of violence inflicted on female sex workers of Mekelle city. These factors are creating a favorable environment for violence. The female sex workers are more prone to violence through their working environment, compromised access to service, uncontrolled conditions of sexual transactions such as fees, accepted drunkard clients, and undesired types of sexual services demanded by the clients. Further, availability and consumption of drugs and alcohol by both clients and female sex workers aggravate violence episodes inflicted on female sex workers. Sexual transmitted disease are common phenomena, common problem among female sex workers of Mekelle city. Female sex workers very often suffer from gonorrhea. 17% of female sex workers are reported with history of sexual transmitted infection. Only 9.6% of them have sought medical treatment. Personal interview with some female sex workers reveal that peer motivation has stimulated a section of young rural girls to join this profession and opt for oral, anal, and breast sex, demanding double charge from the client. A significant section of female sex workers get sex addicted. They cannot sleep without sex. Even they prefer to go for sex without charging any money from the client. Some ladies who are not satisfied by their husband have left their villages and joined this profession to enjoy sex life and earn money. Some young girls are pressurized by the circumstances to adopt this profession for supporting their family living in city. The female sex workers who fail to attract client, they negotiate over phone and attend client at their home as call girls. A section of young, energetic female sex workers opt long hour for sex and they are affected by vaginal fistula. The social fabric, infrastructural, economic and political context of the region is exceptionally disempower female sex worker in Mekelle city. Mekelle University has played a great role in supporting the female sex workers of Mekelle city. Mekelle University has established a confidential sexual transmitted infection clinic which delivers comprehensive promotive, preventive and curative service on sexual transmitted infections, HIV/AIDS, for most at-risk population, including female sex workers and their partners in Mekelle city. Female sex workers in Mekelle city are exposed to stigmatization and violation of basic human rights. There is an urgent need to enhance female sex worker access to justice, education, safe workplace, finance, housing, healthcare, others felt needs of their lives. The NGOs and government agencies are encouraged and solicited to make need assessment of these sex workers and initiate appropriate intervention for their rehabilitation. Greater focus needs to be given on participatory process-oriented empowerment of female sex workers instead of target-oriented window dressing intervention. There is an urgent need for reducing the discrimination which bars access to economic opportunities for sex workers. The intervention should develop a mechanism for generating supplementary income and career development within sex work industry. It is observed from different projects that instead of adopting long-term process-oriented empowerment project, many projects adopted short-term target-oriented project who acts as window dressing and creates a lot of deprivation among the female sex workers.
We found out those female sex workers are found in the age of, mostly found in the age of 14 up to 34, and they are triggered, they are pushed because they are early married, mostly they are early married, and then they get divorced, and they are poor, so for economic solution, they go into sex work. Mostly their education background is fuse up to 10th grade. And that's what we found out on the research. And they don't know how to prevent HIV/AIDS. They don't have awareness on HIV prevention. And that survey research has told us many things. It was informative research. But that training was 6 years before. It was about income generating activities for sex workers. It was funded by Global Fund, and it was challenging to get them because most of them were very mobile, and the startup capital was about 8,000 birr. It was not enough to start up a business, and they were not happy with that. They prefer to continue working on sex work.
You have provided very valid description about the research you have done with Global Fund. But I find most of the research projects taken by NGOs and sponsored by donor agency do not focus on process-oriented approach. They focus on target-oriented approach, which fails to meet the felt needs of female sex workers who are being held from broken families, as you rightly mentioned. So, what do you think? Why the donor agencies, they don't come forward for supporting you for long-term projects like Sonagachi project of Calcutta, which is 15 years project, comprising 4 phases. First phase, you have to plan with participatory planning with female sex workers. Second phase, empowering them to implement the project by themselves. Third phase, transferring the ownership of project to them. Fourth phase, developing mechanism for sustainability of the project after withdrawal of external funding. What is your opinion on that? Why you are not applying and planning such process-oriented approach-based project?
I think it's because we lack of awareness on how to apply. You know, the project, the research, and what I called Global Fund funded project was based on, the fund was given based on their proposal. So it's up to the organization who is funding us. The proposal is done by the donor, by Federal HIV Prevention and Control Secretariat. It was targeted, their proposal was targeted. We cannot, as a regional implementer of their project, we cannot change their proposal. That's their Bible. So for us, it was lack of awareness how to apply this kind of project proposal.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay. Thank you for your excellent answer. In your opinion, what are the major problems of female sex workers, and how will you address, as a leading women organization, what is your plan to address such problems?
Their problem is they are stigmatized by the society. That social stigmatization prohibits them to work on alternative economic source or job or labor. And another problem is that they are human beings, but their human right is denied. They suffer a high rate of violence, and their labor is also exploited in hotels and bars. they work as sex workers as well as they work as waiters. For being a waiter, they are not paid. They are not paid. Working on sex work, they pay commission to the owner of the bar as well. So they are exploited. Economically, they are exploited. Their labor is exploited. They have many problems. I have found out that they have a client, permanent client, or a boyfriend. They get pregnant and they have children. Some of them have children, and so they lack. They are in shortage of. In general, they are poor. I can say they are poor. They cannot send their children to school, and I can say economically they are very poor. So those are the problems they have. But the solution is, I was brainstorming. This can be a solution. It's good if we create a women development group that encompass sex workers. So this will create solidarity with a community. And another solution is they have economic problem. The source is economic problem. Alternative entrepreneurship and technical skill development might be a solution for the problem. Besides creating awareness to the police and legal services for them. They are entitled to human rights, so they have to get human rights awareness, legal services, and training on legal issue. And education-wise, it will be good if we target them, if we provide them scholarship to them or to their kid, to those who have a kid. Basically, harm reduction work is required on them. A blanket approach work is not feasible to them. So we have to target explicitly to the sex workers, especially on credit providing. They want soft law. They want very small interest and for long-term credit. So I have said blanket approach is not appropriate or feasible to them. So NGOs have to mobilize fund to support them. NGO has to, credit-wise, they have to. Government has to be a guarantee for credit. I feel so. And search for innovative ideas. To think out of the box. Support for sex workers is important, I think so. And it's good always to capture their experience also. Yes. And it will be, solution will come out from them also. They can propose solution, what is best, what is better for them. So communicating with them, communicating the community leaders, the religious leaders, creating a relationship, positive relationship with community or neighborhood sex workers will help them to reduce the social stigmatization. They are not only socially stigmatized, but also they are also self-stigmatized. So this can creating relationship with religious leaders, community people will reduce their psychological and problem.
Okay. You mean to say your suggestions are quite valuable for developing a holistic empowerment approach for female sex workers of Mekelle city? they are excluded, as you told, they are excluded. Inclusion mechanism very difficult because they are stigmatized. It is very difficult to include them into mainstream of the community. And I will share you the experience of different NGOs working in Bangladesh and India. They have adopted participatory approach. They have engaged, they have formed in Bangladesh one NGO. I visited that NGO. That NGO has promoted a school for children of sex workers. Sex workers are not only stigmatized, the children are also stigmatized.
Yeah.
So the school is run by sex workers working as teachers. You can develop that type of approach here.
Who are the teachers? Sorry.
Sex workers, old sex workers, they are the teachers. They are managing the schools.
They are training as
Yes,
teachers.
yes.
Yeah.
They are managing the schools.
Yeah.
So if we'll from the experience of CHURA ABIGUDA project, what I find, they promoted a drop-in center and they engaged boys, and they are seduced by the sex workers to have sex, and that drop-in center become a brothel. For project, we have to empower them to work as peer, work as facilitators and trainers. That is one important issue. And what you have rightly mentioned, their economical empowerment within the sex work is important. We need not plan their economic empowerment, taking them out of their sex work framework.
Is it important, you say?
It is important, very important, because you see they are earning more than what you give, what we provide them from the project. In each project they provided 5,000 beer to 20 sex workers, and each 10 of them they try to have promote a cooperative society, that collapsed, and other 10 they tried some kitchen gardening and cultivation, that could not continue. That project was supported for a period of 2 years. It is a target oriented project, so it collapsed a bit. So in the Addis Ababa, one big NGO, I don't want to mention its name, they got huge funding for economic empowerment of 100 female sex workers. They only provided soft loan to 10 sex workers start restaurants. This project collapsed. So we have to adopt the best model of Asia, that is Sonagachi project model. They have promoted multi-purpose cooperative bank run by female sex workers. They are generating lot of fund, giving credit to them. It has become grown bigger than any government bank. So your organization needs to adopt that model. I will give you that model, and that it is a holistic economic empowerment of female sex workers, and it needs empowering them to develop micro planning based on local solution to local problems, what they think. You have rightly observed all these points, and you have to adopt the project framework, what I need. So I'll ask you, what is the strategy of your organization and best practice of your organization to promote skill development, economic empowerment of women, which you can transfer as a model to be replicated among female sex workers of Mekelle city.
Best for you. For us, what we call
Promising practice.
Yeah, what we call best for us is we are center of excellence for women development groups. That's how we empower women economically, politically, socially. So far, that's our best experience. But another thing, we have microfinance, credit microfinance for women, targeting women. That's our best experience. I call best, but it's very common in other countries, very common in your countries, self-help group. We have microfinance organization for women, targeting for women. And we had a skill training center also. Currently it's not working as it is desired. The skill was sewing and garment training center, spinning and souvenir goods products.
Yes.
That's the skill development experience we have, but that's not best experience. What we call best experience is relative, you know. So what we proud and we feel that's our best experience is organizing women in women development group to be empowered in all round the world. But the experience he provide us promoting women to be a teacher is best experience. And I have got an article also which says they are training to be health professionals, and they provide that service to sex workers. They are sex workers. They were sex workers.
Yes.
They establish a health facility, health service delivery. So the sex workers are comfortable to get and to go to that health facility.
Yes.
I think it's from Latin America. I don't remember exactly from where it is, but
many countries, Africa
yeah.
also.
We have drop-in center. Wise Up has established a drop-in center, but it's just aggravating the sex work.
That is not good.
Yeah.
So, your experience in microfinance can be a model for economic empowerment of female sex workers. You can transfer this model for economic empowerment of female sex workers of the city.
Yeah, but this is helpful to those who are stationed in one community or in one warada or in one district. Those who are mobile is not feasible. There are mobile sex workers. They cannot get guarantee if they are mobile sex workers. And also the loan interest is not as soft as they need. You know, it's not low interest. Relatively from other microfinance, from other banks, and it's relatively small interest, but it's not as small as they need. So they need soft loan with long-term payment.
So that Sonagasi model can be replicated here. Sonagasi Calcutta model. I will give you that model. Sonagasi model is the best model. The female sex workers, they will be united and grouped together They will promote their own cooperatives. They will deposit. Then government will give them loan to promote their own bank. They will manage. They will train. They will manage. They will run it as a bank. Ethiopian Commercial Bank. That will be bigger than Ethiopian Commercial Bank. I will give you that model. So
this is only for
female sex workers. They will give. So what is we are?
Who is providing the service? The sex workers.
They will provide. They will manage that. Their manager, their staff, they will manage. That is their fund. They will manage themselves.
What about social stigmatization when they are seen to enter to that service?
First, they will give loan to themselves. Then, because that is a profit-oriented organization, and outsiders they will also come and take loan with giving guarantee. That is possible. I give with that.
It's not targeted.
Not targeted.
The service is provided to
anyone.
Any.
But they will manage.
What
Others are not outside. Outsiders not outside.
What is the guarantees? Guarantee.
Guaranteed collateral security will take for giving loan.
Group collateral or?
No. Property, suppose somebody wants to take loan, outsider, take loan for your building or land will be given as security.
What about for sex workers? What will
Sex workers, they will take cooperative, they will
group collateral.
Group collateral, they will take that.
Those who are stationed in
Station. And then you see their status needs to be identified. So you are talking about mobile sex workers. What is the percentage of mobile sex workers? Can you tell me here in Mekelle city?
I don't know exactly, but there are many. I can guess there are many. Yeah. But those who work on bars are mobile.
Then they should be excluded. There should be some criteria.
So we will exclude many.
No, not many. Because you see, those who are home-based sex workers, they will manage that. We have to, after making need assessment and micro planning, that type of strategy can be developed. So, what message? Thank you very much. You have given very valuable inputs. What message would you like to give to other NGOs and feminist organizations about holistic empowerment of female sex workers in your city?
I also want to say thank you because I'm getting experience in return also. My message I want to convey to another NGOs and to the community that we have to spend time with sex workers in capturing their need and their experience, and we have to work on they are human beings, especially in our region. They are the prevalence of HIV is high is about 23%, according to Ethiopian Demographic Health Survey. So the spread of HIV is becoming high because we are not working on that. So we need to target them. We need to work economically, especially the triggering factor for them to be a sex worker is poverty, and as a women organization also the root cause is early marriage. We have to work on that, and divorce is also another root cause. So the social affair, and as women organization we have to work on that also. Another organizations and community leaders and religious leaders have to work on sex workers. They are our kids, they are our sisters, and they are part of the society. So unless we work on them, especially in the perspective of not only the perspective of economy, in the perspective of HIV, they are the risk factor for the spread of the epidemic.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your valuable inputs.
Shukriya.
Thank you.
Various projects on female sex workers conducted by different NGOs and research in Mekelle city. I conclude that these projects are action research projects based on target-oriented approach. There is an urgent need for designing participatory bottom-up approach. The Sonagasi project of Calcutta in India is the treated as best empowerment model for female sex workers of Asia. This model is based on four-stage framework. First stage is participatory planning and executing program with female sex workers. Second stage is involving female sex workers in all activities and empowering them in capacity building. The third stage is transferring ownership of project activities to female sex workers. The fourth stage is developing mechanism for sustainability of project activities after withdrawal of external funding. And this approach is highly needed for NGOs and government agencies to empower the female sex worker. The process-oriented approach needs long-term intervention in phased manner, covering a period of 15 years to 20 years. I urge the civil society organizations of Mekelle to adopt Indian experience for holistic empowerment of female sex workers of Mekelle city. They are also required to envisage need-based intervention for implementing documentation of violence faced by female sex workers, inventory of female sex workers, participatory need-based micro-planning, advocacy against violence, fostering police accountability, building institutional accountability, promoting security and safety of female sex workers in Mekelle city, and providing legal support to female sex workers. Thank you very much for patient listening.